The US Treasury has criticised China, or at least did at the tail end of last week, for what it described as a lack of flexibility in the Chinese currency. Of course, they didn't go ahead, though, and accused China of being a currency manipulator, which is a tag that would have then led to all sorts of other ways in which they could impose levies and charges on Chinese products. Jonathan Fenby is Director of China Research and Trusted Sources. He's joined us around the desk this morning. Jonathan, good to see you.
Good day.
It was a kind of missed opportunity, really, once again.
It was, if you think that China is manipulating its currency and doing badly. It's keeping it low, yes, but it's been doing so for so long. It hasn't suddenly started, that's the thing. I mean, it's now over 4 years since the peg with the dollar was broken. Yeah. We had an appreciation of the yuan, but recently, over the last year, that has more or less stopped, and it's for a quite simple reason. China wants to keep up its exports at the moment. It's got huge excess capacity. It wants to unload that, and it's going to be doing so with a tremendous price-cost differential on its side. So this will come back, this question, again and again. But Obama is going to Beijing in, 3 weeks' time, and all the signs, if you read the reports out of Washington, kind of briefings by the administration, it's all honey and light. Everything is wonderful. The Chinese are terribly impressed by Tim Geithner, we were told last week. He's doing all the right things, and Obama decided not to see the Dalai Lama so as not to annoy the Chinese. He's playing that very softly.
Even though the yuan stays at the same level, you see the trade deficit coming down. Is that something structural because more internal Chinese demand, or will that change the moment the economy in the US picks up again?
Well, China certainly needs to increase domestic demand, as we know. The economy is unbalanced, too much dependence on exports and on investment, particularly with the fiscal package going on at the moment. But all the signs are that the increase in domestic consumption is pretty slow in China, and various measures that have been taken will take a long time to go through. The Chinese up to now, I think, have been hoping against hope that US and European demand will pick up. They may have a long wait. So really, your view of China depends on your view of the US and Europe.
But indeed, if the trade deficit comes down, it will be harder to finance the deficit of the US government, basically. So how do you see that happening? Will China continue to put all its money into the US, or do you see differentiation? Because that's the main worry for the dollar, of course.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done quite a lot of work on this, and the conclusion is very simple. It's that China's caught in a dollar trap, just as America is caught in, if you like, a yuan, or having China to finance it. There's nowhere really else for the Chinese to go. I mean, it's very difficult to put money into euros, even if they wanted to. Talk of SDRs, that's 5 years ahead. Gold, that's very small. And they can't buy that many companies abroad, which would be, of course, another way of spending the money.
Jonathan, can I just go back to this manipulation issue, just for a very brief point? Isn't it very difficult for those hawks in America to argue about this whole manipulation story when, against virtually every other currency around the world, the dollar's doing what the Chinese are doing with the yuan, i.e. they're keeping it artificially low to stimulate all kinds of export activity?
Absolutely. I mean, the number of currencies the dollar went down in the second quarter this year, I think it was 17 out of the 19 in the Treasury track, and the yuan stayed more or less stable, so in a sense the Chinese are the most stable element in this. The thing perhaps one should look at, although we're always fixated on the dollar-yuan relationship, is the yuan-euro relationship, because there you've got, as the dollar goes down against the euro, Chinese exports are going to become more and more competitive in Europe, and as we move into an electoral season through Europe over the next couple of years, it could well be that Chinese trade, protectionism, all those old bogies will come back to haunt Sarkozy and indeed the next British government.
Since when did the Americans manipulate their currency? I mean, it's a reflection, isn't it, of the parlor states of the American economy?
Say what they do and do what they say. We believe in a strong dollar policy. We believe in a strong dollar policy. How many times have I heard that, Jeff? And let's face it,
we allow the dollar
but we let the dollar fall as much as it can.
That's a reference, though, to the domestic dollar. That's what I've always thought. It's about making sure that inflation...
Here, Jeff. You're playing with words.
No, that inflation doesn't eat away the value of the dollar for domestic purposes. Isn't it? That's what the strong dollar policy is all about, rather than keeping it strong internationally. Anyway,
we can go on about this.
We've only got you for a limited amount of time. So, what happens at this Obama meeting then? I mean, what's being lined up here? Because no doubt there will be a process where new issues are brought to the table.
Yeah, I mean, Obama will want it to be mainly political rather than economic. As you said, Obama will be hoping that China can push a bit further on North Korea. Prime Minister Wen Jiabao was in North Korea, supposedly got an agreement, but as usual, agreements in Pyongyang wait till the proof is in the pudding, as it were there. I think they'll talk more broadly about Asia and the balance in Asia, because clearly with China's rise, with North Korea, with Japan coming into a new administration, there's a whole question about what the balance and what the future of East Asia is going to be. And they'll talk about terrorism, undoubtedly, but the economic thing will keep coming back there, and it'll be currency, it'll be Chinese exports, and as Hillary Clinton said when she made her first visit to Beijing, it'll be America saying, please go on buying our treasuries.
Good to see you, Jonathan. Thanks very much for coming here once again. Jonathan Fenby, Director of China Research at Trusted Sources.